Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracon, which we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after they put out important news. And I love today's news because the company literally found a treasure. Who we have? Patrick Levasseur, President and CEO of Beauce Goldfields, trades on the venture under BGF. A little bit about them because it's a great story, but today's press release, I think, is the most fun, coolest press release we've seen in a couple of years out of the small cap world. So the company itself, Beauce, is close to discovering. They think they're close to discovering where the gold from Canada's first historical placer gold rush came from. That's their flagship property, the Saint-Simon-les-Mines gold project in Quebec. And that's home to Canada's first gold rush that predates the Yukon Klondike. That's how special this property is. The area Beauce controls produced the largest gold nuggets in Canadian mining history, 50 ounces to 71 ounces. And it's the last remaining Canadian placer to hard rock gold exploration project to be explored. What's the headline? Beauce Goldfields buys missing drill rods, adding 344 never reported drill holes. That's a treasure find. Patrick, welcome back, man.
Thank you, George. Great intro. Yes, no, it is quite a find. It's a fantastic find. And,
I mean, this is a storybook find.
It is, and you know what? Ironically, this happened like just before Christmas. So if there's a corporate Christmas fairy tale or corporate rom-com Christmas style, this was it. And no, I mean I'll explain why the significance of that, why we're so happy about it. Because as you just said, you know, people that follow.
But as far as data goes, you found a treasure, right?
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Treasure. How much would it have cost you to get, if Beauce today had to spend the money to get these 344 drill holes and all the data with it, how much would it cost you in today's dollars?
Oh, definitely in the millions and millions. I mean, it's not just. I mean, the biggest part, of course, is the drill holes, the drilling they did. They did the overburden drilling. But there's also geophysics that was done. There's a lot of surveying, and not only that is that they also did work and drilling on other placer properties in the Beauce, which again there was no record of it.
Invaluable.
So yeah, so you know that helped us a lot. That you know I had to go do some claiming, you know, following this, which I've done, which is pretty good. Some of it we've already announced. So that's a lot of fun, but yeah.
Before we go into that, Patrick, before we go into that, because I want to make, because it looks like we're about to go into that. First, let's hear a bit of the story.
Okay.
What's the story behind it? Because this is what.
Yeah.
Give us the Christmas rom-con junior mining story. How you.
Okay. Well, first I'll give a very, very brief, you know, history of the property. As you know, as a lot of new listeners and the other ones, as they know, is that this was a placer. This was Quebec's and Canada's first placer gold district before the Klondike. From 1860s to up to World War I, there was almost continuous for 50 years placer gold production on an industrial scale. And then further off, that was near the village of Saint-Simon-les-Mines. Then about a kilometer and a half further east, there was another major mining activity which took place much more recently in the 1960s. And again, this was another first. It was the only and the largest placer gold operation and dredging operation basically outside the Yukon in Eastern North America. Again, it was there. And that was that was like over 50 years ago, almost 60 years ago. But here's the thing. For such a great operation that it was, and it made great pictures that some people recognize, you know, from the website, the 4-story floating Yuba dredge that they had working there. So
Sears dredge.
It was massive earthworks to go get this placer. And just to know, this is not floating in a river. What they did is that they had to build artificial ponds, really lakes, to float the floating factory. As it would basically, then you had a chainsaw full of buckets that would go and just dredge the whole bedrock, well, the auriferous till, which is sitting on top of bedrock, to bring it up to surface to wash the gold out. And they were taking out, you know, placer gold nuggets. But through all this fantastic work, which we all know because there's great pictures, I mean, this was it. There's only just much reports on it. Just like 4 reports, and they're just summaries and observations. That's all there is in government records. The only thing we knew, we knew about for how long it lasted. It was a bit of a guessing game how much was mined. When we bought the real estate when we were Eurogold years ago, we got some information that said that it looks like they mined around 50,000 ounces over like 4 something years, which is pretty good. But that's it. And here's the thing.
Bare minimum.
We did not know.
But you still had enough between the history and that that's why you created Beauce at the end of the day.
Well, look, the only thing that we knew is that, that Yuba dredge, which we know was transported from Idaho in pieces, and they had other big machinery. They had giant drag lines to do the stripping and that. We know that definitely they didn't do this on a whim. There was a reason for them to go do this. So
you just didn't have the reason. We didn't have the reason in hand.
We know that there was work. They had to measure this. They had to justify all this, and they did. But none of that exploration or measurement or all the exploration work they did leading up to this production, this mining operation was available, unexistent. And I've looked everywhere. I even scoured the data banks of different universities, because sometimes universities get documents and they scan. I went to Quebec City. I went to the Geological Survey office in Ottawa, tried to get whatever I can get. I couldn't find anything, nothing. So, even tried to trade back.
Fast forward now to, you got a call.
Fast forward, like we go, so put it this way. So now I go from just, a couple pages of documents to boxes and boxes, of info, everything, like mining plans. What else that's pretty cool in there? Receipts, here, receipts from the mint, all data we didn't have.
How did you? How'd you find it? How did you find it? How did you get it?
This is a fun story, and it's a fun story because it's not a geological story. It's just a great human story.
Yeah, that's exactly. I know it by what I'm going to hear.
Okay. Yeah. What it was is that basically we were doing, as we announced before, up until in December, we were doing trenching, and people will see in the press releases, and the trenching we do was really important. It had to be done. We had to expose bedrock to have an idea of what's the structure, and of course, hopefully, is there gold? And these are the closest trenches we were able to do until basically the bedrock dips to form the placer deposit below, which is too deep to excavate because of the overburden. So this was the closest bedrock we're able to get. So we're still pending results on this. We're still waiting for results. Still, to do those trenches, well, as everybody knows, in Quebec and pretty much across Canada, there's still a lot of construction going on, and in the Beauce region, which excavators are hard to come by. So the company we're dealing with, a local company, they have to always move their excavator around. Patrick, can have it 2 days, then we got to ship off to another construction site, and we'll bring it back, sure. Things like this. Okay, well, and now, as my season is running pretty short, and we have to do this before it snows. So somebody tells me, there's a retired businessman which has all the toys. He's got everything. He's got tractors, excavators, and his sea-doos and ski-doos, and he's got everything. And a local businessman. So I said, sure, and you see, I've always had the belief that, every time we needed, most of all the guys that work on the property live around the town. And when we need something, we always took, with our talented hired hands are from the town. Locals. When I need stuff, I try to get as close as possible to the town, and that's always what we did. So of course, first option, sure, let's see if he's interested in doing some excavation for us. Sure enough. So the guy is doing a trenching excavation, and then one of the guys that's working for us comes by and he says, he tells me he wants to talk to you because he has documents he might be interested in from when the dredge used to work there. Oh, I found that pretty cool. I expected you find little bits of things here and there, like pieces of the dredge turn up, sure, here and there, especially in the town. And I didn't expect much until basically, so the gentleman invited me to his house. And and right away I had a gut feeling, I think we got the goods here, because he's as lawn ornaments, he has pieces of the dredge in front of the yard. Okay.
He's held, so
And
him
then
and
when
his
he invites me
family
to this
held
house,
stuff for 50, 60 years.
well, yeah, here's the thing. His grandparents or his parents or himself, basically, he grew up. They used to own the general store in the town. And the story of small towns. I mean, like the local community, the social center of the town is the general store. So when I heard that, I found that's pretty exciting. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does have a lot of info or documentation. And then when I get this house, a beautiful house, I see all these beautiful antiques. So obviously he's a collector. Right there, you can see right there, somebody's curious and likes, is into antiquities. And sure enough, he says, no, come downstairs. I even have like a museum. I go downstairs, a beautiful museum. He's got one side, he has his miniature car collection. And then the other side, he has antiques. And he says, here, I'll show you a room. In one room, he recreated his parents' general store with all mint condition items. And when I saw that, I was really excited. He says, I'm sure he's got the goods. And I was expecting, somebody having a moldy box of documents. No. The collector he is, it was well preserved. Everything was in mint conditions inside drawers that hasn't moved.
Tell me about the moment where you first realized how big this discovery was.
Well, first of all, just by the amount of papers he's taking out. To come from the first...
Your eyes, Patrick, to start getting bigger and bigger?
Oh, yeah. As he comes to that, especially conditions, stuff like this. And then when I see the first maps, then when I see the first folder of drill holes, what the last thing I ever expected, I gave up ever thinking that would ever be found, turn up, would be the drill logs, because that's where the real valuable information is.
Of course.
The data from the drilling right there. That's the center of it all. That's the data, the Rosetta Stone. It's right there. And sure enough, folder after folder of drill holes, hundreds of drill holes. There's 3 times more drill holes than that was ever done from 1980s up to now.
How excited, at that moment, did the heavens open up? Did the sun shine on you?
Yeah, it was a bit surreal. As I said, we're talking about it's Christmas. These things come out, and people that know me, I've often mussed around out loud, saying, wouldn't it be great to have that drill log? They must have drilled. We knew from an old map that there was a lot of drilling that was done. There was hundreds of drill holes, and some of the old documents, the summaries, they talk about hundreds of drill holes that were done, but they were only talking about there was a resume saying what was the total grade of everything that was drilled, and but there's no individual drill holes.
Yeah, so there's summaries, but no specifics.
No specifics at all. So now what's great, we have it. We have the specifics. All right. And it's a layer of data which refines and basically puts focus on spots. Put it this way, this changes the whole outlook that we've had on how to approach this project.
Because I was about to ask you, how valuable is it from the project, understanding the project point of view?
Well, in many ways. Put it this way: if I would have sent it now let me explain a bit the drill when I'm talking about drilling, what there is, because in our business, when people listen to drill, they're always used to drilling. When we're talking about the classical drill, that's diamond drilling. I mean, that is the main tool in mineral exploration, is the diamond drilling, right? The drill cores that you come up and stuff like this. But this was a placer project. And so in placer project, it's not diamond drilling. You have to do what's called overburden drilling. In other words, it's larger diameter drilling. And the goal is to just, to go drill and measure to have an estimate of the placer deposit. Yeah. Now, just a reminder, people don't know, placer gold is simply gold which has moved from its original hard rock source, and Mother Nature moved it through many ways, through forces of nature. Could be water, could be glaciation, that from its source to be redeposited as a new deposit. So this deposit is pretty much at the bottom of a valley. So like I said, they didn't invest, which would equal to $100 million today, most likely, to redo this gold operation without justification. And that justification is the drilling they did. So they did rows and rows, the whole valley of drilling. First, they did geophysics, but then they followed up by doing systematic overburden drilling to drill straight down, not at an angle, but straight down into the placer deposit to go drill the placer gold, which sits in saprolite and auriferous till, about 1 to 2 meters, sitting on top of bedrock. So that's what they did. So with that, they did that one to measure the placer channel, to delineate the placer deposit, and of course to measure the placer deposit. Now all those drill holes was the data again was lost. However, back in the 80s, there was 2 companies. One of them was Coney, at the time was a big exploration company, Coney Agus Mines, Macamic. They did a series of overburden drilling as well. And then our pressure company, HBQ's precious company, which was Eurogold, we followed suit. We did 12 overburden drill holes. So before this data, there was only about 90 something overburden drill holes to measure the placer deposit.
And with this data, you got 344, correct?
Yeah, well, 344. Some of them has been done on other properties, but still, we more than triple the overburden drilling. So what does this give us? Well, first of all, this is even better than geophysics because a drill hole is very definite. It's not a guessing game. You get to find out how deep is that place.
Yep.
And it's an amazing data set. Put it this way. Imagine we were playing, I brought this analogy before, imagine we were playing Battleship, right? And you know how Battleship is? Battleship is a game of, of hits and misses. And then if you have enough misses, you get to find out, you get to see what's left to do the hits.
Of course.
So put it this way, it's like almost as if, we're in the middle of a game and we got a few hits and we know some of the misses. And then suddenly a whole bunch of pins come down, boom, right away on the board, and you get to see, okay, well, there you go. So now you know where all the hits were and where the misses are.
How many are there? Hopefully there are enough hits to get you guys excited.
Very excited. Very excited. I mean, it does many things at once. It confirms a lot of the historical drilling we did. And it shines it restructures the whole data set that we were working before. It makes everything much sharper, clearer, better. And put it this way, what we were thinking to do as far as diamond drilling has totally changed. The outlook's totally changed with this. I mean, it's
yeah. So it doesn't mean you're wrong before, but it means you just have better information now as to how to.
Oh, much better. I mean, look, the key to exploration is having good data. I mean, of course, in the end, it is a question. There's a question of luck, but it's a question of educated guesses, and having as much data as possible. So when you do drill, hopefully, that your drill be as efficient as possible, and in getting hits the first time.
You've had these for over a month now. So have you gone through all 344 drill holes?
Well, almost. They're being tabulated right away. There's a bit of challenges. For example, the way they were calculating things. Well, first of all, this was in yards, not not meters. There's all kinds of conversion, but it's also the way that they were calculating tonnage. For example, when there's a gold hit, instead of it being in grams per cubic meter, or milligrams per cubic meter, it's in cents. Oh, okay, this hole is worth 27 cents. But how it works is that how they calculate it's 27 cents per cubic yard. So what they did is that it's 27 cents. What you got to do, the price back then, which they were basing it at around $33 gold when the drill load was done.
Unbelievable.
So you got to convert, but it took a while to find out. That was the formula. So what you got to do is that what they were measuring was the number of feet. The feet of the hole divided by that, the tonnage. So they would put a price on the whole length of the drill hole rather than just.
Makes sense, actually. To tell you the truth. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense, actually, right?
Well, yeah,
you get straight to the answer, which is how much is this hole worth?
Well, yeah, because don't forget, though, they were not doing necessarily exploration. They were there to measure, and to measure because they had a mandate from a company that that wants to bring in a mining operation by dredging the place. So it was all about that. It was all about the economics of the project. That's it. This was not a gold.
Yeah,
Very
they weren't exploring to kind of extend it and find new. They just want to.
No, it was
So
not.
how does it change things for you now, Patrick? So now that you got this, it's still January, February. So I'm assuming you can't do work there unless I'm wrong. What
Well,
does
look,
this
don't forget,
for
look,
your next set of
we
work?
have a lot. Well, look, we have a lot of work with just this. We have a lot of work to overlay. We have a lot of data to overlay, and we got to pile up all this data. So now adding that, our drill holes, well, Eurogold drill holes, the 1980s drill holes, and those drill holes. Now we're going to be able to make a really nice geological model, a 3D model of the valley, and all the analysis that can come with it, of the gold zones and gold hits with the shape of the valley and that, the structure. So well, that's a lot of work, but we hope to have this done within a month or two, definitely, and of course with the results waiting from the trenching. So we'll be
from what you've seen so far, Patrick, you guys like what you've seen, obviously.
Oh, I love what I see. I love what I see. Here's the thing: is that people were asking, well, this is often a question that says, well, there was often a lot of skepticism about us trying to find a Motherlode because nobody ever found a Motherlode before. And, they asked us that if there was one, it should have been found by now, right? But as you saw, as we saw what happened basically in the Yukon, people were mining and poking around the placer deposits, but it was only about 5-6 years ago that they found a real hard rock deposit that explains in part where the Klondike gold came from. So it's the same thing here. So we can't make assumptions. Now, people were saying, well, if they did all this work, how come they didn't find the deposit? Here's the thing. It's not their mandate. So the contractor they hired, the New York, Alaska Dredging Company, their mandate was just to measure the placer deposit, delineate the channel, do the engineering, the economics for the operation. Their mandate was not exploration. And it's funny because I'll try to pull it out. I was reading some of the old correspondence and some of the shareholders.
Sounds like a company that would do pretty well today if it was on the market. Just get to the cash,
Well, yeah.
Sometimes companies can blow an entire account just looking and never find anything.
It could, but from what we saw, I believe that if there with the historical placer deposit, but there's still a historical placer deposit still there. There's still placer gold there. My belief is that could be just the tip of the iceberg, and that's my whole justification in looking for Motherlode. And people were criticized.
Are you any closer to it, given what you've seen now?
Well, I believe we are. Basically, is that we're starting to have a better idea of where not to look and where to look. We've narrowed down a 30 square kilometer now to a very narrow band. We did this for the past 2 years, process of elimination, all the rock sampling, the outcrop sampling, the trenching we're doing. Now add this data. Oh my God. I mean, it just changes everything. But even back then, the shareholders at that company, Beauce Placer, it was funny. Again, a lot of this old documentation is pretty fun to read nowadays, in hindsight, because even back then, the shareholders were getting upset at the Beauce Placer mining company because they're saying, why don't you look for the hard rock source, And their response, well, that's not our mandate, Well, but obviously, the information they're getting out is very pertinent and very useful for that task of finding the hard rock source, which we get to do. So basically, we're picking up from where these guys spent, millions in today's money. We're picking up right there. Plus, add all this information we got and information in the 80s. I mean, it's with this and what we know now, with this together, is the most unprecedented and unknown data that really starts, zeroing in.
Give us. Last question. So, walk us through what the year looks like. So you think you'll be done tabulating these next month or two.
Yes.
Then from that, you create a plan, obviously. Okay, based on this, here's where our plan's going to be. So when do you think you'll start drilling? And what does that timeline look like for the rest of 2021?
Well, we're hoping to start drilling as soon as the ground firms up in the spring. So around in May. It's a pretty wet area. So, if we can't go there, in the thaw, I mean, some of this drilling will be on our property and some on private property. So we have to respect that, not to muck that up because of the property soft. But as soon as everything starts to firm up, we're at that point now. Look, we did 3 years of geophysics, studying the area. We did trenching. We did outcrop sampling. We've pretty much exhausted that. Now it's we're down. It's down to that. It's now down to a drill exploration program, diamond drill exploration program, and that's where we're at. So the first phase of that, we believe we should be able to start that in May, and so we need that data, But the trenching data, which is still pending, that will be really important because one thing that we don't know enough is under that overburden, what's the bedrock structure, the angle. The angle, we have an idea through geophysics, but first we have to see it. We have an idea now with the trenching, because that's going to help in basically in how to orientate the angle of the drilling.
Right.
Like give you an analogy. If you take a layered cake, and then suddenly tilt it on this way. Well, if you're drilling like this, if you're just drilling in one layer of cream, if there's gold in it, well, it's good. I mean, you're drilling through good cream. But if you want a chance, if you do it the right way, then you can get many of the layers, the cake and cream.
But bottom line is,
all
that will be part of the equation. You should be drilling by sometime in May, late May.
Yeah.
And then do you expect it to go on? What's the drilling season look like?
Well, I hope to drill all through summer.
No, that for sure. Does it go beyond up there into October, November?
Well, but technically I can drill year round, except in the spring.
Yeah, weather permitting.
There's no problem drilling in
drill
winter.
up there September, October, November.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could keep drilling. Like I said, I could keep drilling pretty much all year round, except except April. When things are pretty soft and melting, and it's just too wet. It all depends. So I hope I hope in April you can start drilling, and then we build up from there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about getting to drilling, Patrick? Now with all this information in hand.
Look, if we can go, if there's an 11 on that knob past 10, I would put it there because it's something, as people know, I was involved in this property even before it was Beauce Placer, when it was in Eurogold, or formerly HBQ's predecessor. And so I've been there 10 years almost, and it's the first time. Actually, I mean, it's the first time in 100 years there's going to be some diamond drilling right underneath that placer deposit, like right underneath it. That's just never been done. Can you believe it or not? Four diamond drills was done when Eurogold was there. Fancamp did a few. Then there was a few done in the 50s. But of all those drill holes, of all the just only a gold, the plate. Let's another way of looking at this, George, which is really important for people to realize, is that, and to give you an idea of the potential, is that you can't. Yes, this was a placer deposit, but a placer deposit is another word for a giant, massive gold anomaly. It's a gold anomaly. That placer came from somewhere. Now, anywhere else, the slightest, a fraction of that gold anomaly anywhere else has been diamond drilled before. I mean, just Shibugamu. How many diamond drills have been done there? Probably, 50,000 so far. I don't know. Somebody can correct me, but it's in the tens of thousands. So we're talking an area which now we're starting to have a pretty good definition and narrow down where the gold sits as far as placer, and yet no diamond drill hole was ever done in those spots. Nobody put a diamond drill where the 50
local town. Is the local town kind of buzzing? Do they know what the significance?
Well, they know,
this happened.
The local town has been one of my first supporters.
Yep.
My first shareholder base. They're great. They're great because they're great, and they're really happy because they know the potential there. They hear the stories. They had relatives that worked. They had ancestors and relatives that worked on the past mining operations, and they were always sort of disappointed and perplexed as well. How come nobody picked the ball after all this time? So when I came in and explaining to everybody, and that's what they appreciate the most, that you explain to them what we're doing, you explain what's there. You explain. A lot of them forget. A lot of them forget that there was 6 kilometers of tunnels beneath that town. You know, it's all things like this. So they appreciate it. You know, it's part of their heritage, and they like that somebody else is continuing this heritage. You know, so they're keeping a close eye. Most important thing is to keep them informed. I keep them informed. You know, I need the participation.
Well, you keep them informed.
They're stakeholders.
And that's how you get 344 drill results that otherwise it's because you're dealing with the local people, the local drillers, the local equipment people. That's how you got this, right?
Yeah.
So that's hats off to you and hats off to the town, Patrick.
The town, look, I have the greatest respect for the townspeople there. I see them as my partners in this. And, you know, and I feel that we're all in this together. Definitely.
All right, man. So congratulations on finding your first treasure, you know, Christmas under the Christmas tree, 2020, 344 never reported drill holes. Let's hope now that turns into the next big Christmas present in 2021 for everybody. But great story. And even
gold. The key now is to start coming up with gold in hard rock, not placer gold.
All right.
Gold that's been, you know, where Mother Nature has been putting this gold in the hard rock. That's what we got to find now. And
Patrick,
I think
good luck on finding it. You know, Kris Kringle, Santa Claus, somebody that day blessed you with this treasure trove find, and thanks for sharing the story with us. And now you have to watch Beauce, right? You have to watch Beauce now, just based on this kind of story. Look, it's almost destiny.
If anybody, I'm telling you now. You know, like a lot of people, like, you know, I mean, we did attract a lot of interest, and like a lot of people love what we're doing. They're interested about it. But now it's time for everybody to, you know, to really wake up and pay attention, because this is it. You know?
All right. You have our attention. You got everyone's attention at home. I'm sure even the HPQ investors are going to love to hear this story, because they're all investors, right? At the end of the day, they either receive their dividend payment.
The long-time HPQ shareholders
they got their shares. Plus, HPQ has stock, right? HPQ has stock in Beauce as well.
Yes, I'm glad you bring it up. Yeah, HPQ is one of our largest shareholders as a result of the spin out. They maintain a lot of shareholders. So yeah. No,
you got everybody rooting for you, and we're going to make sure they know about this. So which is going to be great for them, buddy. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for sharing today.
Thanks, George.
Happy for you. Real happy for you.
Thanks.
To everyone at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Patrick Levasseur, one of the coolest small last names in all small cap, President CEO of Beauce Goldfields, trades on the TSX Venture under the stock symbol BGF. You've heard what he had to say. You watched what he had to say. For those of you who are on Agoracom right now, get there, go to the profile section to find out more information about Beauce, but then link over to the Beauce site. It's a great site, great photos there. You can see some of over Patrick's right shoulder, some great black and whites from back in the day, historic, and Patrick and the team are on the case. You got to do your due diligence so we don't end up telling you one day that we told you so. All right, have a great day. See you next time.